Welcome back to the Farm Show. That's Farm and Ranch, Missouri, here on Westplex Talk 1045. If you're listening to us live, you know that today is Saturday, December 13th. If you're listening in the future, well, today is Saturday, December 13th. Before commercial break, we heard from USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins at an event with President Donald Trump talking about 12 billion, 11 billion, depending on how you do the math, to U.S. farmers. Rollins wasn't done. On Wednesday, she held a press conference with other government leaders to talk about regenerative agriculture and the USDA's process for this. Now, I'm going to do something that is considered a cardinal sin in radio, and I'm not going to hide the punchline of what Brooke Rollins said. We'll get right into it. There's not a new influx of big federal money for regenerative agriculture coming, but there is a new process that makes everything simpler for farmers. Now, I went through this entire press conference, and we're going to skip over a lot of the formalities and a lot of the things that don't have anything to do with what you might actually use on your farm, and we'll go right into Rollins' overview.
Really today is about the next step in making America healthy again, in addition to those waivers, and that is talking about regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is a conservation management approach that emphasizes natural resources through improved soil health, water management, and natural vitality for the productivity and prosperity of American agriculture and all of our communities. Today, we are launching a new Farmer First regenerative agriculture pilot program, which will invest $700 million specifically to support regenerative agriculture. We will deliver this support through existing programs our farmers already know and already trust. Protecting and improving the health of our soil is critical, not only for the future viability of farmland, but to the future success of American farmers. In order to continue to be the most productive and most efficient growers in the world, we must protect our topsoil from unnecessary erosion and boost the microbiome of the soil. Today's announcement encourages these priorities while supporting farmers to transition to regenerative agriculture if they so choose. This is a Farmers First pilot program and the first of its kind. The pilot brings USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS. We have our incredible leaders here, Aubrey Bettencourt, back to its core mission, helping people help the land through whole farm, outcome-based voluntary conservation that our producers trust. For too long, our conservation programs have been severely fragmented. This pilot replaces that fragmentation with one unified process that evaluates everything at one time. Whole farm planning is the centerpiece, ensuring that all resource concerns such as soil, water, and natural vitality are addressed together, not one piece at a time. Producers will benefit from a single application, reducing red tape and making conservation easier to access and our programs more impactful. As President Trump has done since day one, we are committed to restoring America's natural strength by empowering producers with simple outcome-based tools. Producers at every stage, from beginners just starting with cover crops to advanced operation with years of conservation experience, many of those are represented by our farmers today, will find a pathway through this pilot. Each producer's results will be measured and credited back to the farmer through an outcomes report, recognizing and rewarding improvements they achieve on their own land. This initiative puts American farmers first as part of the solution to make America healthy again, but by supporting access to American-grown whole foods that are critical to addressing the chronic disease crisis nationwide. Using the Sustains Act, we will bring corporate, label, and supply chain partners directly into partnership with NRCS, supporting regenerative agriculture adoption, farmer recognition, and consumer education. Because success depends on strong partnerships, we will expand work through our technical service providers and local organizations to meet demand. In addition, the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, supported by their their advisory committee will extend regenerative priorities into cities and urban areas and urban communities across our great country. Again, aligning with the MAHA agenda. And many of those places in our country, as you know, are those that are facing the most severe crisis regarding nutritious foods and access to nutritious foods. This new pilot is about results that last. It will make our farms more productive, our land healthier, and our water cleaner.
Now, here's where things get interesting. Brooke Rollins introduces RFK Jr., who took a little swipe at pesticides and fertilizers in his comments. Have a listen.
This is the fulfillment of a promise that we made in the MAHA report. The MAHA report, which we released 2.5 months ago, has 120 recommendations for how to transition, how to eliminate the chronic disease epidemic and transition to a healthier America. And among those promises, among the recommendations of the report, was the promise to make it easier for farmers in this country, to give them an off-ramp. Farmers who are dependent on inputs, on chemical and fertilizer inputs, to give them an off-ramp where they can transition to a model that emphasizes soil health. And with soil health comes nutrient density. And without coercion, through voluntary action, to give them good incentives to do well by doing good for themselves, for our children, and for the country. I'm very, very happy to have as a partner in this endeavor Brooke Rollins. I've been working on farm issues for 30 years. And this is the first USDA secretary who I believe is really committed to giving us, we already have the healthiest food supply in the world, to making a food supply that's even healthier, that's going to sustain, again, a transition to a much healthier America for our children. I also want to thank these farmers who are inspiring, and they're inspiring to the farm community, to all of us who care about good health, about sustainability on the farm, about water retention, about the soil retention, about the health of farmers themselves who are concerned about the health of their children from too many chemicals on the land. And they have given us models. Some of these are 5th, 6th, 7th generation farmers, and they provided us models for how to do this and how to do it in a way that vertically integrates, that preserves profit margins, and that dramatically reduces inputs.
Okay, so we're going to cut Bobby off there. He had a few other things to say that aren't necessarily germane to anything we talk about on this show. Then Dr. Oz spoke for a little while, had some comments about pediatrician visits and such. We'll skip over that. And then Brooke Rollins introduced a gentleman from California named Blake Alexander, who actually is a farmer. He is a hay, alfalfa, dairy farmer from California, and he's credited as being one of the leading regenerative agriculture leaders. Here's what he had to say about his processes.
Our farm, Alexander Family Farm, was the first certified regenerative farm in the United States. And since that happened, I've kind of carried this load on my shoulders to attempt to help spread the message across the country to conventional farmers, organic farmers alike. And I'm just going to simply say that regenerative farming is simply farming in harmony with nature, with the way that God intended or our maker intended. It's paying attention to the biology and building nutrient density in the soil, the plants, the crops that our animals eat. For us, it's chickens and cows, and then ultimately it's the milk and the nutrient density for food for humans, and making our planet a better place. In harmony with nature means that we're cleaning up the water supply on our farm. We're cleaning up the erosion that may or may not happen with both soil and water. And we're cleaning up the air. And so everybody benefits, all the wildlife, the ecosystem benefits, and ultimately we're sequestering carbon and literally doing the right thing and moving forward in harmony with nature again, making our planet a healthier place for everyone. We all breathe the same air.
If you're just joining us live on Westplex Talk 1045, we're hearing clips from a USDA press conference led by Brooke Rollins. Rollins introduced a woman named Aubrey Bettencourt, who leads NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, for her comments of kind of an overview of the program and specifics. Here's what Ms. Bettencourt had to say.
This pilot is designed by farmers for farmers to incorporate that feedback from farmers, because farming in California and farming in Indiana are two different things. But this program is designed to utilize the NRCS suites of practices that our farmers know and trust, and allows them that flexibility to, as the secretary talked about, I'm going to say on-ramp into regenerative practices and incorporate that in a measurable way. And more importantly, and I think, Secretary, you covered it so well, it connects the producer and the work that they're doing on the farm, granting them the credit for that voluntary action of change of practice on their farm that then can transition into the supply chain, into the marketplace, and directly back to the consumer. This country is 6 generations separate from the land, and this is an opportunity for us to bridge that gap together. And again, by looking at this holistically from on-farm planning all the way through the supply chain to the consumer. And so we're looking forward to rolling out this program in a way that farmers know, can trust, working with the NRCS offices and staff across the country in almost every county of the country to provide that technical and financial assistance to them. And again, ensure that they are credited back and seen as the solution and not the problem.
Okay, now we get to the interesting part. When journalists, reporters were able to ask questions, the great Mike Pearson from the Farm Progress family of publications asked about specific criteria. Here's what Ms. Bettencourt had to say.
Criteria is the same as it has and always been. It's EQIP and CSP. These are our standing programs that take year-round applications. There's nothing new. It'll be the same application that our farmers know already. The difference is they'll be able to apply for multiple practice on a single application. What's important about that is it ties back to that whole farm plan. The idea being that we're going to look at all of the resource concerns on the property at one time instead of drive-by conservation, where we're only looking at maybe soil health here, and maybe in a few years we're going to look at water management. No, it's going to come back to a plan. Let's start working the plan with the farmer. This means we've got to put our NRCS staff back out in the field where the farmer, where they belong, and we're making incredible efforts and investment in that as well. The Secretary has been a tremendous champion of that. But this is the same EQIP and CSP rolling contracts as we have all throughout the year.
In response to another question, Ms. Bettencourt took the opportunity to talk about NRCS's core function.
From a technical assistance perspective, this is the foundation of NRCS. 90 years ago, this country decided it was a priority that we keep farmers on the landscape farming to the best and highest ability that they can. Technical assistance is foundational to NRCS. It's something we are never going to stop doing, and we will always have a way to provide that.
You might have noticed that Secretary Rollins mentioned corporate partnerships in her introductory remarks. A reporter asked about financing for these programs, as well as the corporate partnership piece. Here's what Ms. Bettencourt had to say about both topics.
With regards to the financing, this is standard EQIP and CSP. It's baseline funding that we received through our budget. So we have the ability to tag that funding specifically for this pilot, and that's what we're doing. I believe it's $400 million for EQIP and $300 million for CSP. As for the corporate partnership, this is facilitated through the Sustains Act that was passed by Congress. It was granted to NRCS in order to allow us to look at the suite of standing programs from NRCS and engage with corporate partners to do matching dollars to priorities set by the Secretary. And so we are piloting that with EQIP and CSP specifically around regenerative agricultural practices because of the pull from the marketplace to integrate these into the supply chain and production. So we're really looking forward to being able to have those measurable results that the farmer has, that those companies can look to and match and leverage against our taxpayer dollars. I mean, this is a way of this is a new and innovative way of implementing conservation across the landscape and putting farmers first, not just from our perspective, but from the entire cultural perspective of the country.
There were a few other questions asked, not really germane to anything we care about on this show. But then a reporter asked a question about pesticide approvals, specifically pesticide, I should say insecticide and herbicide approvals. And here's what RFK Jr. had to say.
Well, I don't think so. And we're in discussions with Lee Zeldin at EPA, and we're very, very confident of his commitment to make sure to reduce toxic exposures to the American people.
Okay, so there we have another example of RFK Jr. referring to common farm principles like the application of herbicides and insecticides as being toxic chemicals. If you're looking for a plain language description of what happened at the press conference, I would point you to Brownfield Ag News. And with the minute or two that we have left, I want to tick through some of these pieces that were pointed out by Erin Anderson of Brownfield. Again, you can find this at brownfieldagnews.com. Erin writes, the USDA has announced a $700 million regenerative agriculture pilot program to help farmers improve soil health and strengthen the food supply chain. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins says the initiative is designed by farmers for farmers. Erin Anderson then goes on to quote Brooke Rollins. We won't read that because we just heard it straight from Brooke Rollins. Erin writes, Aubrey J.D. Bettencourt, chief of NRCS, says the agency is using funding through the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, aka EQIP, and the Conservation Stewardship Program, aka CSP, to fund the first year of the project. Erin goes on to quote Bettencourt and something we already heard earlier. Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., says farmers are part of the solution to make America healthy again. Erin goes on to write, the program also includes the creation of the Chiefs Advisory Council and expands the public-private partnership to help guide the department on future conservation projects. The USDA says it streamlined the application process for EQIP and CSP, which now don't have to be filed separately. Farmers and ranchers can apply through their local NRCS office. So if you're looking for more information on this program, go to USDA.gov and you can see information about NRCS and how to apply for these things. I'd also point out, as you're well aware, that there are a number of agriculture companies that have regenerative ag programs on the books already. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back right here next Saturday at 10 a.m. on 104.5 FM. That's Westplex Talk. We'll see you then.